Hey, it's your girl Lurk back again to do what? Spout on all y'all so I can talk about it. So, lately, with this whole dababy and danileigh situation that's taken the whole internet by storm for whatever reason, it's just, once again, a black man doing what he does best, which is being a deadbeat to his baby's mom. But it just so happens to be a preference this time. And the funny thing about that is, I've been listening to Cynthia G for a good while. And one thing that I do absolutely agree with her on is that these preferences, they most definitely get the same black men that we typically get. And they tend to not be crap. And that's just the truth of it. And so by me listening to Cynthia G's rhetoric on how these preferences, still get the same damaged black men that we've gotten over, the years, it made me think about all the different times where the preferences got exactly the same black men that we got. And a lot of times they got done dirty. Sometimes it was even fatal. And so I wanted to compile a little list. I know the list is probably longer, but these are just the ones that popped in my mind. And I would just like to go down the list and show the times that the preferences got the same black men that we get. So I'm going to start off Prince and Maite Garcia. All right, so as we know, Prince, over the years, everyone knows this, that man has a preference. That's what they always say when they talk about him and his women. It's always Prince has a preference, and it's never really a black woman. Not really. It's always some admixture, some quote unquote exotical, or just plain white. And it's either a spicy Latina or just some you just don't even really know what the heck they are. But they're oftentimes not particularly black, except for one that we know, and that was Nona Gay. That was a relationship he had back in 93, 94. They had met when she was 17, but they kept seeing her up until 94, I believe, 95. I believe it was 94. But anyway, while I do think it's disgusting that he was in his 30s talking to a teenage girl, that's a whole other video. But as of now, she was the dark-skinned or darker-hued, one of his darker-hued women, I'll say that. But as we know, Prince was always a playboy, a pimp, the original F-boy, to say the least. And so, of course, he always had many, many women in lineup, while dealing with them. He was never a monogamous man by any means. And so, the reason why I chose to pick Nona to discuss in this situation, because even though we know that Prince was not monogamous at all, not even with Maite or anybody, this situation is brought up because I want to make a point that when Prince was with Nona, it didn't seem like she got the same treatment as his preferences. See, if you see in these pictures, we see that Prince had no issues with sporting his women on his arm. We have him on the cover with, Vanity, and we see Maite all over the stage with him. And he actually sported her, I think, more than any of his women. We've seen them together everywhere. And he had no problems with showing himself with his preferences. Now, if we see pictures of him and Nona together, they look miserable, or at least she does. He, with the other women, he had no issues with holding their hands and, letting it be known that, yeah, this is my trophy here. But with Nona, he walks ahead of her at different whatever award show that they were at, or a modeling show, whatever that was. She looks completely miserable. It looks like they just had an argument. She doesn't look very happy. And even in the one promotional picture that they took where he's kissing on her arm, she looks scared. she looks afraid. And so when we see them together, it doesn't look romantic. It doesn't look beautiful the same way it did with his other pictures. And even though, yeah, they did a music video together, he did kind of promote her. But if you see the music video to the love sign, she didn't get the same kissy, romantic spotlight that the others did. It showed, even though they quote unquote had sex in this video, even though you don't see that, you just see her way up under the covers. He's fully dressed and just leaving after he done smashed her out. But with the other videos where his preferences are there, he's all over them, you know. And so we see that. So definitely the darker hued woman of his was treated much differently than his preferences. Now, the final nail in the coffin to that is when, for a while, according to Nona Gay, is that Prince had been telling her that he wanted to marry her. He had been telling her for a while that he wanted to marry her and he was going to marry her. And so one day at an awards show, for whatever reason, he chose to do something very despicable, disgusting, and unnecessarily hurtful. He had brought Nona there to the award show, and he also had Maite there, and they performed. And for whatever reason, Prince, according to Maite or whatever, he had Maite come out and show off her engagement ring and flash it all in front of Nona's face and basically do the reveal that she was engaged to Prince. Now, to me, that was just very disgusting. Definitely a F-boy move on his behalf, and it was just unnecessarily hurtful to do something like that. And so so Nona, of course, was obviously devastated and very depressed about that. And when she questioned him about it, he became defensive, basically gaslighting her, and then just plain out ignoring her. And the way that whole situation ended was just horrible. So obviously Maite felt like she won the prize. She had no issues with helping to bring down this beautiful black woman, you know, helping to be an F-boy with her man. And so flash forward, her and Prince get married. And I'm not trying to be funny, but even though I'm not sure if I believe in karma, if it is a thing, karma hit them hard, because, you know, when they got married, it might have been marital bliss for a very, very little while. But, you know, according to Maite in her book, he still wasn't faithful. He wasn't faithful to her in their marriage. She said there was times when he was, but there was also times when he wasn't. So that was coming from her book, The Most Beautiful. And I don't want to bring children into the situation, but, you know, if you read her book, you know, they had a situation with their son that was really, really sad. And, you know, the baby ended up dying after being severely deformed. And that is incredibly sad. And then the whole thing of you get them, you lose them how you get them. If that was ever a thing, it was a thing here, because basically Maite got done to her what she helped to do to Nona. You know, he was playing on her, obviously with other women, but he had a mistress that he ended up leaving her for, and that was with Manuela Testolini. I think that's how you say her name. So basically, Prince ended up pulling another pimp F-boy move, and he ended up leaving Maite for a vanity clone who was Manuela. So the same hurt that Maite helped to cause Nona was done to her, and therefore, you know, she lost him the same way she got him. And therefore, in this particular situation, she got the same type of black men that we get, an F-boy. That's what Prince was in this situation. He ended up being the ultimate F-boy. And I feel like Mayte definitely lost out. And now she's, even till this day, she still seems to be a mourning widow-ish-esque type situation. She seems to not be able to let go of him. And, I think the only reason why she even still holds on to the Purple Kingdom or whatever is because, for some reason she has fans, because I guess people do love their little love story. But, yeah, she had been forgotten about for a long time. And it was up until Prince's death is that she, came back and people kind of embrace her. But a lot of people also dislike her. But that's neither here nor there. But that was the first of when they get the same black men that we get. And that was Prince being an F-boy. Next on the roster, we have Wesley Snipes and Halle Berry. Now, we know that for a long time, black women put Wesley Snipes on the map, for his dark skin. Always talk about how sexy and chocolate he is, even though, dark-skinned black women don't get that type of love and promotion from black men. They're told how unattractive they are, how ugly and masculine their features are. You never hear black men bigging a dark-skinned woman up in the media, ever, really. And so, but, Wesley Snipes ended up getting a whole career and sex symbol status off of black women bigging up his skin tone. That's why, it was out for the light-skinned people, the light-skinned guys. It was supposedly that their reign was over because people like Wesley Snipes and Morris Chestnut and people like that came on the scene. So we haven't seen Wesley Snipes with any black women. He likes Asians, but that's neither here nor there. But we're going to talk about the time that he showed his preference that she was going to get the same black men that black women get. And rumor has it that Wesley Snipes is the one that busted Halle Berry's eardrum and made her half deaf. Now, people was trying to blame it on Derek Jeter, but over the years, Derek Jeter let it be known that it was not him. Is it Derek Jeter or David Justice? Excuse me. Sorry, David Justice. DJ, whatever. Yeah, he let it be known that he was not the one that did it. Actually, Christopher Williams is the one that also said he didn't do it. But I don't think we've heard Wesley Snipes say that he didn't do it. So I think that there's some truth to that. And so basically, Halle Berry, even though people big her up as this black woman, the sexy black woman, we know that she's biracial. So I'm not doing any one drop ruling here. She's a biracial woman and a preference, and she's one that was held in high regard to black men. And this is how she was done by a very famous black man. And so therefore, she was obviously being abused and therefore getting the same black men that black women get. And speaking of Nona Gaye, I want to talk about her dad, Marvin Gaye. In case y'all didn't know that, Marvin Gaye is Nona Gaye's dad. And he's disgusting on so many levels, but he's a legend and people love him, of course, but at one point Marvin Gaye was married to Berry Gordy's sister, Anna Gordy, and she was a black wife, starter wife or whatever, and they were together, but Marvin ended up meeting a underage biracial girl by the name of Jan, and he became obsessed with her and completely taken up with her, and ended up leaving Anna for Jan. Now, It's already disgusting because he was 34 years old as well, and she was underage, 17. And so, she already came from a broken home herself, so her mom had no issues with basically carting her off to Marvin, which is disturbing in and of itself. And so, Marvin took over this young teenage girl, was obsessed with her, and just completely did whatever he wanted to do with her. He got married to her, and it became in a very abusive situation. He basically hoed her out to his friends, but then he wanted her to do this, but then he would get angry whenever she did it. It was like, okay, I want you to sleep with my friends, and then she does it, and it's like, oh my gosh, you betrayed me, how dare you. So it was a very disturbing relationship, to say the least. According to her in her book, he was very abusive to her, basically sex trafficked her, loaned her out to his friends while he watched on some sick stuff. He was a drug addict. A very abusive, toxic relationship. And so, yeah, he left his black wife for this biracial young kid, did this woman dirty over the years, and made her life a living hell. And she ended up getting what? The same black men that black women get. And last but certainly not least on this list is obviously the most devastating one out of all of these, and that is the O.J. Simpson and Nicole situation. Now O.J. was married to his first wife, who was black, and her name was Marguerite Whitley, and they got married in 1967, and they had 3 children. And while he was married to Marguerite, O.J. met Nicole, who was only a waitress at the time, and basically had an affair with her while he was still married to Marguerite. And in 79, he basically left Marguerite for Nicole. They ended up getting a divorce, and he started his life with Nicole. Now, he basically took this white woman from being a waitress, moved her to being in the high life with a celebrity and being rich and, all those things. And he was sporting her and completely taken up with her. And so, we know they ended up getting married and being together. But obviously it didn't take long for him to show his true colors and to being the abusive dude that he ended up being. And he became extremely abusive to Nicole, as a lot of us know. And, she's made multiple phone calls to the police on him for a bunch of DV situations. And their marriage was very tumultuous, to say the least. Now, we know in 94 is when the S really, really hit the fan. And basically, Nicole and her friend Ron lost their lives in a very devastating, tragic manner. They were both murdered, and she was mutilated, you might as well say, almost to the point of decapitation. And it's been speculated for some time that it was OJ that did this. Now, there are so many people who want to say that they don't believe that OJ did that. I personally believe the man did it because there's been too many times where he basically squealed on himself. He's done interviews talking about, what if he did it? He wrote a book called What If He Did It? It's like he's screaming to show you that he did it, but it's like, maybe I don't even know if he's guilty. He doesn't even seem like someone who's guilty, but he does seem guilty enough that he's telling on himself. And the man ended up having to go to jail for unrelated charges. He never was charged with her murder. He was found not guilty, as we know. But basically, Nicole got no prize in that at all. She ended up getting a man who left his black wife and she ended up being an abuse victim and ultimately murdered by the same black men that black women get. So with that being said, this is my list, and I know that this list is longer. I know it can be longer, but these were just the ones that came to the top of my mind when I was thinking about this. And that, you know, these preferences love to throw up in black women's faces that they are the black men's preference, and that somehow they're better than us in a lot of ways because of this. But as we can see, these are famous situations and famous women, you know, high prestige, and they still got done dirty by high valued men, high earning men. You know, they still got done horrible in a lot of these situations. So I just wanted to point that out because this whole DaBaby situation sparked that. Cynthia G's rhetoric, you know, inspired this. And like I said, I know that there's other ones. But if y'all can think of more situations of, you know, celebrity situations where the preferences got the same black men that black women get, put them down in the comments section below. I would really appreciate it. And let me know what y'all think about this list. And if y'all have any more information to contribute, let me know down below. So thank you for listening and lurking with me today. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.